Hi guys. So today I thought I would talk with you all about my main and I would say most problematic medical condition, and that is hypermobile Ehlers Danlos Syndrome, or hEDS, formerly known as EDS type 3. So what is Ehlers Danlos Syndrome? Ehlers Danlos Syndrome is a group of connective tissue disorders. There are 13 subtypes. Some that I can name from the top of my head include hypermobile, classic-like, cardiac valvular, vascular, and brittle cornea syndrome. They all range in different levels of severity and what they include, what different parts of the body they affect. But they all affect one thing in the body, and that is called collagen. So what is collagen? Collagen is basically the glue that holds the body together. So for normal people, whenever you stretch your muscles, or a good example is the skin, it'll stretch out and then go back together. It is very elastic. The collagen makes it elastic. But for people with EDS or another connective tissue disorder like Marfan, for example, it'll stretch out and then just stay there. It has like very little elasticity to it. So for me, one of my worst things in my body at the moment is my tendons. So my tendons will stretch out and they'll just kind of stay like that. They'll become very thin, translucent, and they tear very easily. For example, my left Achilles tendon, which is the tendon in the back of your ankle, has a giant hole in it right now. I was supposed to see getting surgery for it. We were planning surgery for my left Achilles tendon because it has been getting worse for over a year now. But we had to cancel that because of something called COVID-19. It is not an immediate surgery, but it is something I'm going to have to eventually get. So let's talk specifically about my type of EDS, the hypermobile type. So as you can tell from that, I'm hypermobile, or as some would think, double jointed. So my joints are basically overflexible. Some things I can do, so keep in mind, normal people can be hypermobile. It can be a normal thing. The problem is I have other criteria. I passed the hEDS criteria. I will put a link to that in the description. I passed that because I also have some other stuff like really chronic joint pain and tendon tears, ligament tears, just some other stuff that isn't normal. It's not normal to tear tendons super easily, have sprains all the time, and have chronic joint pain. But some things I can do, like I can put my thumb to my wrist, both sides, my pinkies go back beyond 90 degrees. Don't know if you can see that, there we go. So my joints, just in general are too bendy. They're just too bendy. But some things that also go along with that, I have chronic tendonitis throughout my body, and I have chronic sprains. With the hypermobility, there comes a problem of dislocations and subluxations. So a dislocation is when the joint comes completely out of the socket. You're going to have tendon ruptures, which is a complete tear of the tendon. It breaks apart completely, and some ligament tears. Subluxation is when it comes partially out of the socket, and you're going to, again, have some tendon tearing and some ligament tearing. Dislocations I've had over the years, I've had my knee, my toes, my fingers, my thumb, I think my thumbs, I can't keep track of it all, and my jaw. And subluxations, partial dislocations, I have basically on a daily basis. Some examples of subluxations I've had in my body. These include my ankles, my toes, my fingers, my jaw, my thumbs, my fingers, my hips. So a good way, what I have to do every single day is that I basically just have to pop my joints back in. It's a normal thing that I go through every single day. Almost every morning, my hip, my left hip, more often than my right, will be out, and I just have to pop it back in. It's a normal thing. I do it every single day. It's very funny though. Whenever my friends first saw my hip go out, they were very shocked. It is very loud when it comes out, and especially when I have to pop it back in, you will hear a pop. My family was shocked when I did it my first time too. Some other problems, oh, my jaw. So my jaw, like, it'll go out a lot. I just have to get it back in. Like, I can click. I don't really want to show it because it hurts. That's the other thing with dislocations, subluxations. It hurts, and people with EDS usually develop early set arthritis because of how the joints just like go together. It's not fun. There's a lot of problems that doctors should have saw beforehand that I had EDS. So some of those problems, I have fibromyalgia, I have TMJ. I had some dislocations, I had subluxations that were documented for years. I had, chronic tendonitis, bursitis, but doctors just didn't really check it. I got sick, really sick. I got really sick about 2 years ago after I took a medicine that for people with EDS, it can make very much worse. It was an antibiotic, and it has a black box warning. I can't even sue the doctor who did it because it has a black box warning on it, and you should know, but the doctor said, oh, it's fine. The medicine is Levaquin, by the way, and I will put a link to that drug in the description with the black box warning. But for normal people, a lot of times they can get an Achilles tendon rupture, but the problem is for people with connective tissue disorders, it can do a lot worse. So I started having chronic sprains, chronic tendonitis, constantly. I went to 20 doctors, around 20 doctors. They would all say, there is nothing wrong with you. You are perfectly fine. It is just depression and anxiety. And that gets kind of degrading after a while. I have to admit, I was feeling very hopeless. But oddly enough, the doctor who finally figured it out and diagnosed me, no doctor had even referred me to him. My mom's friend, who has a daughter who is chronically ill, said, this doctor is great, I think you should go to him. And I did, and he's great. He works at Children's Hospital Pittsburgh. I don't think I can say his name, but he is an absolutely fantastic doctor. So glad that I go to him. He really helps with getting treatment for my pain. Same for my orthopedist in Indiana. He is really good for getting me my medical equipment and my physical therapy. Some treatments you can do for Ehlers Danlos Syndrome. There isn't much, but some things you can do. You can take medicines like NSAIDs to help with that. And you basically do physical therapy. I've done physical therapy. I haven't been able to go to it as often because I am in college right now, and it is very hard to do physical therapy with college because physical therapy just wears you out. But the thing I like to do is aqua therapy. It takes a lot of pressure off of my joints, and I'm able to like run in the water. If any of you have seen me on campus or just around, I use forearm crutches, which are very helpful, and I use an electric wheelchair. So forearm crutches are not the normal crutches in the United States. In the United States, the normal crutch is called an auxiliary crutch. It basically just goes under your arm. And the problem is it can, after a long time, it can actually pinch nerves in your shoulders. And that's what was happening to me. I had been using crutches for months at that point when I was sick. And I started to not be able to feel my arm a lot. So we switched me to forearm crutches, which are better for long-term use people anyway, but they basically just go into the forearm with a cuff, and I have to hold onto it with my wrist. The problem is, with forearm crutches, a lot of people end up developing carpal tunnel because you have to hold it with your wrist constantly. I have to get surgery for that in the future. It also does not help that my wrists are hypermobile holding the crutch. So, one thing I am investing in at the moment is something called a smart crutch. And it's very good. It's actually, they have a crutch specifically made for people with EDS. It's a medical zebra crutch. So if you don't know, EDS is considered a medical zebra, meaning that we're rare. Basically what it means. And that usually doctors try to look for a horse instead of a zebra, because you want to rule out the more normal stuff, the more common stuff. But these smart crutches, basically, your arm just slips into the cuff, and there's different degrees at which you can put your arm at. So you could go from like straight all the way down, and it just takes a lot of pressure off of your wrist. And I know I'm in an EDS support group, and a lot of people love using the smart crutch because it just takes so much pressure. So I'm planning on getting those in the next few years. Right now for my jaw, for my TMJ, I am getting a lot of treatment. I have already had like 1.5 procedures for my jaw so far. No, I think 2 or 3. Yeah, I've had a lot. So I had to get I keep getting my teeth ground down because my mouth is not even. Braces did not help with that. But I needed braces. My teeth were very bad. Oh, that's another thing. EDS can cause dental crowding. They didn't touch that before. Dental crowding and a high narrow palate, which I do have. And I've had to get my teeth ground down so that my mouth is more normal. And then after a few more of those, I'm going to be getting a mouth guard, and then I will be getting a jaw brace to help with my TMJ. So the EDS criteria, let's go through a little bit of that. So to pass the hypermobile Ehlers Danlos Syndrome criteria, because most types, 12 out of 13 types, you can test for genetically. There is a genetic gene found for those 12 types of EDS. The hypermobile type, though, they have not found what gene causes it yet. So right now, the Ehlers Danlos Society has a criteria sheet that you have to pass in order to be diagnosed with hypermobile Ehlers Danlos syndrome. So it starts out with the Benton score, which is like a hypermobility score. So you have to pass, for my age, a 5 out of 9. Yes, a 5 out of 9. And I either have a 5 or a 6. So it's my 2 wrist, thumbs, pinkies, and my knee. And I think my other knee. But I am hypermobile. I passed that. And then there's group A, you have to pass 5 out of 9 or 12. I pass, either way, I pass a 5. I will put a link in the description of that criteria sheet so you can see exactly like how you have to pass it. And if you think that you might have EDS, maybe talk with your doctor about it. Bring in the sheet and see like, hey, this is kind of weird. Can we talk about it? But some of the things for group A that I pass, I have papules in my feet, high narrow palate. I have some morphinoid factors like arachidactyly. I have that. There's a few others that I just cannot remember at the moment. But it was a weird day when I passed EDS, when I passed the criteria for hypermobile EDS. It's not a condition I ever thought I'd be diagnosed with. Less than a year ago, I had never even heard of it. It's not talked about enough. You know, I know a person on campus who has a family member with Marfan, and she was just so shocked at, like, I know what Marfan is. It's like, yeah, people don't know enough about connective tissue disorders, and I don't blame them. I mean, because they are relatively rare, but I think people need to know more about them. When people see me on campus, they don't know what I have. Heck, I'm bald. They probably think I have cancer. I have alopecia. It's an autoimmune disease that makes my hair fall out. I'll talk about that at a later time. But, you know, it's just really weird seeing a girl in a wheelchair on campus and uses crutches. There is actually another girl on campus who has the exact same type of EDS as me. And her and I talk some. It's very nice to have another person that you can relate with, especially in college. But yeah, that's basically it. Just talking about my connective tissue disorder, hypermobile Ehlers Danlos Syndrome. I figured I would just talk about this because, you know, for the past, like, 2.5 years, people have really seen, like, my journey of, like, getting really, really sick, hitting rock bottom. And, you know, I figured I would come out and talk about it for people who don't know what it is. And my journey of finally getting treatment for it. That's all. Bye.